15.
Broadcasting across the state of Wisconsin on the Civic Media Radio Network and around the world on the Civic Media app. This is the Dom Salvia Show. And now, here's your host, Dom Salvia.
And welcome to the Dom Salvia Show. Thank you for tuning in and listening. You can be a part. Simply call or text 855-752-4842. Got Jess PS working hard on the board today, and jazzed as hell, our pal Matt Rothschild joining us as a co-host for the day. Of course, formerly with the Progressive Magazine with Wisconsin Democracy Campaign and a frequent Civic Media contributor. Matt, good to see you once again, man.
Yeah, great to see you, Dom. Sorry I missed you for a couple of weeks.
Yeah, it's all right, man. You got some living to do, and we'll and the life goes on, man. Lots of politics happen. We'll continue, folks. It is snowy out there. It is Wisconsin. It is February, and we finally got one of those storms picked us up. We both live in Bayview, heading down to Racine here today. Lots of accidents.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
road.
There was no way my car was going to get through it.
Yeah, that Jeep, it'll go through anything. So take your time, folks. Plan a little extra time if you need to. If you don't need to go anywhere, stay at home.
Enjoy the show.
Yeah, cuddle up with the radio. Give us a call. Be a part, 855-752-4842. Matt, a lot has happened in the few weeks since we've spoke. But most recently, Elon Musk is taking center stage. And Elon Musk was in the White House, man. He was in the Oval Office. Not very dressed very appropriately, in my humble opinion, Matt. But we have, all this effort by the Doge and, of course, then the legal pushback. Lots of organizations suing over the actions of Elon Musk and the Trump administration from across the board, Matt. So right now, they're throwing things against the wall. It seems like we're trying to catch up, trying to stay ahead of what's going on. But some of the content being provided by Elon Musk and the Doge folks, well, it's not really accurate, Matt. It seems like they're I don't know, say they're lying to us or misspeaking. But what's your sense as of right now with the effort of this public-private partnership? I don't know how to call this thing. This man who volunteers his time for Donald Trump as his point man with Doge. How do you think the American people are taking this right now, Matt?
Well, I think Elon Musk is a lot less popular than Donald Trump. And, he's like mini-me to Donald Trump. And it's just, Trump said he was going to be a dictator on day one. Turns out he's been a dictator on day 1, 2, 3 through 20. And Musk is his little deputy. And to see the richest man in the world standing there in the Oval Office with his, baseball cap on and a T-shirt on underneath a coat, and his little kid there, who brings their little kid to a press conference with the President of the United States? I mean, this guy is just so arrogant. It's amazing that he's able to breathe. He's so full of hot air, too. And it's just, he's been doing one illegal thing after another. Trump has and Musk has, and he can't just say, as Musk did yesterday, well, the people voted for the president, so the president can do whatever he wants. That's how democracy works. That's not how our democracy is supposed to work.
No, that's not how it's supposed to work. Now, certainly the executive branch, they can hire who they want and do what they want, but any of those representatives still represent the executive branch. And to my understanding, impounding the money, this law that we created in the 70s to stop, aggressive executives from impounding money, from taking money from different sources and putting in their pocket or doing other things with them. They're not supposed to do that, right? We have a budgetary process. Right. It starts in the Congress. We're going through this right now. If you have issues with any of these particular programs or how the money's being spent, why wouldn't this be hammered out when you do the budget? You don't do it in this fashion.
Yeah, you can't do it retroactively. It's illegal to not see that the laws are faithfully executed. I mean, the budget was passed. There are all these expenditures that were approved. He's supposed to execute those laws and do what's in the budget. He can't just say, I'm not going to spend this money on USAID. You just can't do that.
Well, one of the concerns that they had with the USAID was the condoms. I mean, condoms for everybody. We're funding the whole world getting condoms.
Millions and millions and millions.
It
and
might
condoms.
even be billions.
It might. It might. The number kept changing.
Trillions? I mean, there's a lot of condoms.
Indeed.
A lot of condoms.
I think Elon doesn't believe in condoms. He's got a lot of kids floating around.
Yeah, yes, he does. I don't believe in condoms. No, practice safe sex, everybody. But the condom, and when this came out, when Elon Musk and Doge announced to the world, hey, we found this striking fraud. USA spending $50 million on condoms to send over to Gaza for what? For Hamas?
Yeah.
And right off the bat, I was like, oh, BS.
Well, right.
BS meter.
Show us the source.
Well, I mean, my BS meter went off. I think, Jess, you were a little concerned about whether or not that was accurate or not. But some of our callers, our conservative buddies out there, they were quoting that right and left. Immediately. Oh, look at the fraud. There's millions. So, well, and that was a couple of weeks ago. And as it turns out, that might not be true, Mega. So, again,
if only I had pearls to clutch.
Consider the source. And unfortunately, the source that you're considering is the guy you voted for. And he and the crew around him have a tendency of, I don't know, getting it wrong. I'm not going to even say lie. I'm going to say getting it wrong. And the more I hear Elon Musk speak, the dumber he sounds to me. That's my own personal opinion. I haven't heard him a whole lot. I saw him on Joe Rogan a while back smoking a joint. I was like, ooh, big deal, guy smoking a joint. Okay. But didn't really listen to the guy. Well, I heard a little bit of him at the White House yesterday, and I was like, oh God, this is our best and brightest. I mean, just because you're rich doesn't mean you're on top of it, man. I'm just saying. And as evidenced by it, the man admits himself. We have a cut. Do we have a cut
Yeah,
from?
we do.
All right. Musk in the Oval Office yesterday, dressed totally inappropriately. I mean, he may as well had a Judas Priest T-shirt on while he was at it.
But then,
What was that T-shirt? I want to know.
then he'd at least have some style and taste.
That's right. Breaking the law. But a journalist did ask Musk about this $50 million in condoms. Let's hear that cut, please, Jess.
Well, first of all, some of the things that I say will be incorrect and should be corrected. So nobody's going to bat 1,000. I mean, we will make mistakes, but we'll act quickly to correct any mistakes. I'm not sure we should be sending $50 million worth of condoms to anywhere, frankly. I'm not sure that's something Americans would be really excited about. And that is really an enormous number of condoms, if you think about it. If it went to Mozambique instead of Gaza, I'm like, okay, that's not as bad, but still, why are we doing that?
I'm with so many condoms. You put one on every finger and your toes, too. I mean, condoms for everyone. And then some say, oh, they're blowing the condoms up and trapping bombs to them and sending them over to bomb Israel.
Yeah, unfortunately, that is a tactic that's been used. But again,
with condoms? Condoms?
Yes.
Come on.
Yeah.
That's a legit gripe that Hamas was blowing up condoms with helium and strapping bombs to them and sending them across the fence.
Using them as IEDs.
I don't know if I believe that.
All right, I'll get you a source.
Please do. I mean, come on. Condoms, I mean, they're not very, I don't know, solid. You know what I mean? I'd be questioning that. But my point, of course, these $50 million going to Mozambique instead of Gaza. Not as bad as he said. Well, we're not going to bat 1,000. Yeah, no doubt, dude. You're not batting 1,000. And not only that, that's not the full story. I found this over at the BBC. This article entitled Fact-Checking Elon Musk's Claims in the Oval Office. And this was from, just 3 hours ago. So go check it out, thebBC.com. We will put it in the show notes. Just a couple of paragraphs to, I guess, straighten it out, to let everybody know what's happening. From the body of the BBC, the U.S. State Department told us two $50 million donations due to be sent to the Gaza Strip via the International Medical Corps has been stopped, which it claimed included contraceptives such as condoms. But responding to the claims, the charity said it wasn't aware of any future U.S. funding for condoms or any other contraceptives for Gaza. They also said none of the funds they'd received from the U.S. government since October 23 have been used to procure or distribute condoms within the Gaza Strip. Now, the U.S. in the past has provided contraceptives to countries around the world as part of family planning programs. In 2023, $60.1 million sent abroad for contraceptives with about 7 million of that for condoms, according to a USAID report. So in 2023, just under $61 million sent abroad for contraceptives, 7 million of that 61 million for condoms, according to a USAID report. None of this was listed for Gaza in the Middle East. 5.4 million of contraceptives were listed for Mozambique, but none of this was for condoms. These contraceptive programs existed under Trump's previous administration as well. During the 2019 fiscal year, about $40 million was spent sending contraceptives abroad, according to another USAID report. So if you're finding fraud and waste and abuse, can you articulate for us, Mr. Musk and Doge and Trump and whoever else has issues with this? And you can have an issue with soft power, Matt. I mean, you can make those determinations. I understand that. But this was so obviously not $50 million in condoms going to Gaza, $7 million in condoms in total, and 5.4 that was for Mozambique, and it wasn't for condoms, it was for other contraceptives. And this plan was already under the last Trump administration. So why is this such an issue now?
It's just they're making stuff up as they're going along here, and maybe they thought this would be a big social media issue that can throw it up there, people grab on to something that they understand. But again, Congress has passed a budget that includes funding for United States Agency for International Development. The president is supposed to make sure that happens. He's not supposed to all of a sudden say, we're not going to do this part, we're not going to do that part, we're not going to do the other part. And, I read a good article in the Washington Post recently by a guy who was an ethics counselor under H.W. Bush and worked under Reagan and was at the OMB under Republicans. And he said, this is just totally unconstitutional. This is not how our system works.
Oh, they're trying to change how it works. And, of course, they're getting the proper pushback. I think proper. I mean, we should be challenging. And I've heard the Republicans talk about, Joe Biden was going to ignore the judge's orders when they were talking about trying to give some relief for school debt. And this is the one they're jumping on. If you're going to talk, we got to talk about Joe Biden. I'm not sure that those are apples to apples comparison. But at the end of the day, yes, the executive branch, you got to listen to your co-equal branch of government, the judicial branch, the courts.
Biden did do that. He cut back on the student forgiveness that he wanted to do.
Oh, he did that. Oh,
he did. When he was told, hey, that's not constitutional, that's not within your purview, he stepped back.
So Donald Trump's going to continue, and this administration will continue to push the envelope, and we will continue to highlight the facts as we know them. I don't believe in condoms and bombs. Come on, but you got to prove that to me. Hey, folks, come back with us. Got Matt Rothschild today as well. Got Jess on the board, 855-752-4842. Let's circle it back here to the great state of Wisconsin. Matt, your time over at the Wisconsin Democracy Campaign. Those folks tracking the dollars in the Wisconsin Supreme Court race. Let's talk about that. Plus, perhaps a little polling from Charles Franklin over at Marquette University Law School poll. Come back with us.
Not to put too fine a point on it. Say I'm the only bee in your bonnet. Make a little birdhouse in your soul.
Welcome back to the Dom Salvia Show, 855-752-4842, 855-75-Civic. Just PS on the board. Matt Rothschild joining me today, talking a little Elon Musk. Going to get to some of the Wisconsin topics here in just a minute. But you folks are lining up on the lines and on the texts. We'll get to the callers here. John from Milwaukee says, hey, guess you've never heard of George Soros, Bezos, Fauci, and the secret cabal that has been running the White House in the absence of Biden. We never voted for any of them. What say you? Well, number one, I don't accept your premise of what the absence of Biden. I mean, Biden was certainly there physically anyway, and so I don't know if that's a apt comparison. Now, in place of Fauci, there's still folks that are in these various departments. Let's call it. There's still folks that do those jobs. So I don't know that any of them have, when Fauci was there, he was giving, health recommendations. He wasn't, stopping funding for the NIH. I think those are different issues, and the recommendations that were based on science, on medical science that we knew at the time, and that we continue to know at the time. That science is there's a thing called the scientific process, right? That's how we do it. That we do the best practice, try to figure things out. I don't think that that's the same as what Elon Musk is doing. You mentioned George Soros. It's funny you mentioned that. Now, while George Soros may have gotten the Presidential Medal of Freedom or whatever he got for civilians, George Soros, the boogeyman for the right. Now, if he were in that White House with his hand on Barack Obama's shoulder, holding a press conference, talking about what he was going to do and how he was going to spend money, I think the righties would have been losing their minds, Matt. But for some reason, somehow, this is totally acceptable to the right these days.
Yeah, George Soros didn't get the keys to the kingdom and get to go in and fire people and close down whole agencies that had already been appropriated by Congress. I mean, it's not a fair at all comparison. And Biden, as much as I think he did a disservice to all of us by not getting out of the race earlier, by all accounts, he was there in the meetings making the final decisions upon the recommendations of his aides. It's not like there was some secret cabal in there making decisions while the old guy was asleep in bed all day long. That's not what happened. Yeah, he had problems. Yeah, his faculties were declining. Yes, I think he should have dropped out after the 2022 midterm elections and even either had an open primary or resigned the presidency and handed the car over to Kamala Harris see if she could drive it. But he didn't do that. That's water, under the bridge, over the dam, whatever cliche you want to use. But it's not like what we're seeing here, where the richest man in the world gets to fire employees at will and close down agencies at will. I mean, that's illegal. I wanted to just mention this article I saw by Alan Charles Rawle. He was Associate White House Counsel under Reagan and OMB under Reagan and Bush. The radical organization, this is in the Washington Post, now underway is not just foot faulting over procedural lines. It's not a minor thing. It's shattering the fundamental checks and balances of our constitutional order. The Doge process, if that is what it is, mocks two basic tenets of our government, he said. One, that we're a nation of laws, not men, and two, that it's Congress that controls spending and passes legislation. The president must faithfully execute Congress's laws. That ain't happening.
To our conservative, I'm assuming conservative buddy John from Milwaukee, do you recall, or can history point to us any example of this kind of, well, as I call it, a public-private partnership? The richest man in the world at the time, whatever the case may be, literally joining forces with the chief executive at the time to dictate policy and overrule how Congress has allocated the funds of the American people. Can you ever think of a time when this is there anything comparable to this, Matt, in your recollection?
No, I can't see it. In my memory, it certainly hasn't happened, and I'm 66, and I've been a geek for politics since I was about 6. So 60 years, I don't think it's happened.
So the Fauci references and the secret cabal references, that doesn't fly with you?
No, not at all. I mean, Biden was, The thing about Joe Biden, I want to give him some credit after I was dumping on him a minute ago. He did make some good decisions. He did get some good legislation passed. He made a good appointment to the Supreme Court. He's done some good things. Don't get me wrong. He helped us get out of COVID. It wasn't like he was totally asleep at the wheel the whole time. And I don't think we should try to disguise that or just try to make fun of him. He was there. People who were on the inside said he was perfectly able to act as president. It's just he was a terrible presidential candidate, as we all saw during the debate.
As we all saw, Cam, he texts in, LOL, the conservative talking points of, what about Biden? We don't care. Yeah, what about Biden? 855-752-4842. The original Claire, you will be first today. Hey, Claire, welcome back. What do you got for us?
Hey, Dom. Hi, Matt.
Hey, Claire.
It's so ironic. Not only is Elon Musk not elected, he isn't even a frickin' American. How the hell does he get how can he prance into the president's office and call all the shots? I mean, it's so absurd. He ought to be deported.
Claire, doesn't he? I thought he had American citizenship.
He's naturalized.
He's naturalized, so okay.
Yeah, he is a
and
citizen.
Claire, the real secret, of course, is that he's rich. And if there is something that Republicans and MAGA love more than anything else, it's being rich.
And Trump loves it too. The fact that he's
yeah.
the richest man in the world, just excites Trump no end.
Well, the richest man in the world essentially doing your bidding. A guy like Donald Trump can't stand to have anybody richer than him. You know what I'm saying? But Donald Trump is the president, and with that comes an enormous amount of executive power. And Donald Trump just loves it when he gets Musk to do basically his dirty work for him. But did you see the body language of Trump when Musk was up there saying, "Yeah, I might. I'm not going to always be wrong." What did he say? Do we have that? We'll play it on the way back next time. We'll remind you of what Musk says. Whenever we hear Musk, we're going to have a new little game. When we hear Musk, we're going to play that little clip. Stick around. We'll play it with you. We'll get to more of your calls as well. 855-752-4842. Stick around.
Save your prayers, don't press my bones. Erase my name from my headstone. Back from the dead alive. Hell couldn't hold me down. Hell couldn't hold me down. Hell couldn't hold me down.
Well, first of all, some of the things that I say will be incorrect.
2 minutes. One minute. $30. $10.
And welcome back to the Dom Salvia Show, 855-752-4842, 855-75 Civic. Be safe on the roads out there in Wisconsin. Folks still dealing with the snowstorm. Little hairy getting down to racing today. So please take your time. Be courteous of the other drivers. We don't all have four-wheel drive Jeeps. I'm just saying, take your time.
It's really coming down right now in Madison, too.
All right. So in the meantime, we're going to, we'll entertain you a little bit here, talking about some of the politics and the topics that are going on today. I guess the Elon Musk, we'll stay here just a moment longer. We played the sound of Elon. What was that little short clip again, Jess?
Some of the things that I say will be incorrect.
Yeah.
We're just going to keep that there forever.
And one of those things, of course, was this bunk about 50 million in condoms going to Gaza. And I keep bringing it up, Matt, because the way that the righties jumped on it, like it was gospel, like this was carved in stone and true and given by God, and we got to stop this. And this is exactly why Elon Musk is in this position. This is one of the reasons they gave him justification. And it's totally freaking wrong, Matt.
Yeah, they'll run with anything, though. It doesn't matter. Reagan's welfare queen, did that make a difference if there was actually a person or not? I mean, it fit their narrative. So if they get an anecdote that helps them, hoodwink people, it doesn't matter to them whether the anecdote is true or not. I mean, look at Springfield, Ohio, eating pets. It's the same thing. And I think that actually helped Trump and Vance, actually, because it shifted the conversation to some crazy thing, but it also had to do with immigrants, and that was the playing field they wanted to play on, and it took some of the wind out of Kamala's sails. But yeah, it doesn't matter to them whether it's true or false. Nothing matters to them whether it's true or false.
Well, when you say them, is that the administration, the folks, coming up with the lies about, eating the pets or the 50 million? Or what about, the folks that call this show, the conservatives that are out there, the loyal voters and their foot soldiers out there pushing the narrative? Do they enjoy getting hoodwinked? Do they appreciate being lackeys for a liar? I mean, at some point, wouldn't they? I think they should kind of reassess who they're listening to and what they believe in.
Well, I hope they will reassess. I mean, Trump and Vance, they tell lies all day long, especially Trump. But I think Vance does too, obviously, with the ridiculous Springfield story. Followers want to believe it, and yeah, at what point do they wake up and say, they've been hoodwinked? Maybe when they lose their job, or maybe when inflation goes through the roof because of the tariffs, but it's going to take a while. It's not going to happen overnight. That's, he's got a 53% approval rating I saw the other day. I mean, so it's not happening right away.
Give it time. We'll deal with a little bit of pain, and we'll see what happens.
But
after
the thing
that.
is, sorry to interrupt. The thing is,
Yeah.
Trump's not going to feel the pain. Elon Musk isn't going to feel the pain.
Right.
That's why it's so outrageous when both of them talk about there might be a little pain. Well, you guys are going to be doing just fine.
855-752-4842. Rep. Jasmine Crockett, a Democrat from Texas, also had an opportunity during her speech. I guess that this is a committee for that. This is the MTG committee, Marjorie Taylor Greene's committee. I think this is the one.
Indeed.
And Crockett, love me some Crockett, went off on Musk a little bit. Let's play cut number 3.
Now, I know that people are confused right now because for whatever reason, we had a guy that went in and you talk about people invading our data. Listen, people said that they were upset about TikTok, but I'm upset about the guy that runs Twitter, who for sure is doing nefarious things, because I don't understand, if you are trying to conduct audits and figure out where the waste, fraud, and abuse is, I don't know why you would go to some tech guy. In fact, it was only techies that were sitting there at inauguration. We didn't have auditors. I would welcome auditors to come in and do forensic audits. In fact, he sat there in the Oval Office yesterday and he admitted that he was lying and he was using his propaganda machine to do it when he said that we sent millions of dollars to Gaza for condoms. That was a lie. So let me tell you something.
The
We were
gentlelady's
duly elected,
time has expired.
And it is time for
The
us
gentlelady's
to do our
time has
job
expired.
and rein in this rogue actor known
The gentlelady's
as
time
Elon
has expired. I now recognize the
MTG.
A lot of love there. A lot of love going around in that room.
Oh, no doubt. Thank you, Rep. Crockett, for pointing that out. We will continue to point it out as we see it as well. 855-752-4842. A couple of the texters from MDX, WMDX, love it when Jess plays some Hailstorm in
You're
the
welcome.
bumper music. Yeah, me too. I like that song. Steady Eddie, he chimes in. Dom, Matt, Trump and Musk batting average is nowhere near 1,000, but probably more like Euchre's 200. Well said, sir. Everyone is against waste, fraud, and abuse. Where's the evidence? Require Musk, Trump, and associates to show the receipts. Yeah, show the receipts. Our pal Rep. Mark Pocan, Congressman Pocan, he went on Doge.gov and had some problems getting access to their information, right?
I mean, this was hilarious. I saw it on Facebook today. Pocan, who I love and who's doing a lot of social media these days, and credit to him for that, posted a quote from Elon Musk saying, we're transparent. When a reporter asked about transparency, we put it all up there on our website. And so Pocan went to the website, doge.gov, at that point this morning, and there was nothing there. And so by the time I came around to it, I looked it up too, and still there was nothing there. There's something there now, but it ain't great.
Yeah, I'm on it literally right now. Doge.gov, an official website of the United States government. And it's essentially a link to their Twitter feed. That's it. There's like, I don't know, there's a half a dozen, maybe 10 links to Twitter. You want to go check out Doge? Go to Twitter. That's where it's all at. And I haven't dug into any of these tweets yet, and perhaps I will, because I am curious. Because to Steady Eddie's point, yeah, of course, waste, fraud, and abuse. No, hell no, we don't want that. We got enough of that going on, and we should certainly, be good stewards of our tax dollars. No question about it. But when we're talking about a guy like Elon Musk, who gets billions and billions and billions of dollars of our tax dollars, for his projects, that's apparently good spending. No problem there.
Yeah, I mean, he just got another contract yesterday, I saw, or the day before. Yeah. I'm on the website too right now. I'm checking under savings. I click there. All it says is receipts coming soon, no later than Valentine's Day.
Receipts coming soon. Yep. It'll be, we'll have a replacement for the ACA in 2 weeks, and next week starts Infrastructure Week. We've heard this before, and I feel like I'm repeating myself, but I don't understand how people continue to follow this and think that because again, there's a credibility problem, Matt. That's what I have with this entire operation. No, you're not batting 1,000. You're barely batting 200, from my understanding. Was there an apology?
No.
No, right? No, I was totally
Even
wrong.
though he said, we're not going to get it right all the time, and when we get it wrong, we'll correct it. Hasn't happened yet.
Hasn't happened. Did he correct it? Did he specifically say? Because I still haven't. It was $7 million in contraceptives.
Right.
In contraceptives and not condoms.
Correct.
I mean, so he's still wrong even when he admitted he wasn't right.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
But let's look at this from a higher altitude, because what they are doing here, first of all, they're getting rid of a lot of federal employees. The workforce in the federal government is about 20% black, so they're getting rid of a disproportionate number of African Americans. The ideology is everything the private sector does is good, and everything the public sector is bad. This comes down from Ronald Reagan. And you know, they want to get rid of government regulations, because government regulations, now that they've savaged unions, our government, people we elect, are the only things that stand between corporations and their ability to maximize profits at the expense of their workers or the environment. And so, you know, Musk has made, you know, his billions in the private sector, and the other billionaires, you know, dozens of them who are at the inauguration, they stand to make more money as these regulations get cut. And so that's really the big picture. The other big picture is just that, you know, capitalism's devouring our democracy. It's not delivering the goods to people, so people are unhappy and sometimes go with a authoritarian figure to solve their problems. And you know, the rich get richer, the poor get poor, and the rich buy the politicians. And that's where we're at.
Now the rich just become the politicians, and they save. That's their efficiencies. They save out on the middleman. You know, you mentioned the government regulations. You know, our regulations that we put on to protect ourselves. That's impeding, you know, maximizing profits for the corporations, for the billionaires. And you talked about. I would throw out there the customers as well. It's not just the environment, you know what I mean? Right. And these other, they're also going after consumer protections for us people as we engage in capitalism, as we engage in commerce. They're trying to make it easier for these corporations to, you know, shiest us, to charge us more, to defraud us. It makes it easier. Now, certainly not every corporation does that, and we are in the world where we go out and buy goods and services and provide goods and services. I mean, that's just the environment we live in. But to make sure that the environment stays protected, that workers are protected, that the customers are protected. You know, we deserve protection. I do not appreciate, as a customer, as a citizen, as a voter, you know, these folks coming in and just slashing through with some consumer protection because, it's too burdensome on the banks. You know, look what we had to go through with the banks. I don't remember those bank executives doing perp walks during the last couple of rundowns. Matt?
No, and they should have. And Barack Obama should have taken care of that. That was one of the biggest problems that we had with Obama. And even Steve Bannon said there should have been accountability for the banks. I mean, come on now.
When Bannon is saying it, you know, I don't know. I sometimes that guy, he strikes the chord. He's a little crazy, but sometimes I hate to admit it. 855-752-4842. Hell, we even talked about a couple of things that maybe this administration is doing good. We'll keep that one on the back burner for the next hour. 855-752-4842. Let's keep going on the topic. Mark from the SAC, you are up. Welcome, sir. What do you got for us?
Yeah, Matt brought up the one thing is that one of Trump's duties is he must make sure that the laws are faithfully executed. Because in the Constitution, as in law, shall means must. It's the imperative word. And it was kind of funny that Trump Musk had his little 4-year-old there. And it was kind of, Trump is lucky that little 4-year-old didn't quip up that telling his dad that Trump needed a diaper change.
Jeez, come on, man. It's a little too close to home there, Mark. I mean, you don't want the diaper smell, man. I haven't had kids in diapers in a while, but man, that was nasty. I can't imagine the adult diaper smell. Thank you for the contribution, I guess. Matt Rothschild, before we move on, I just want to throw this one out there for your consideration for the audience as well. The New York Times points out Republicans love Trump's spending cuts, just not in their states. From the body of the piece, Senator Katie Britt from Alabama Here's what the New York Times reporting, that Britt was one of the first Republicans to raise concerns at home soon after the Trump administration directed the National Institutes of Health to slash $4 billion in overhead costs for medical research grantees, a move that has since been put on pause by a federal judge. Now, Senator Britt, whose state has received more than $518 million in NIH grants for projects currently active there, told a local news outlet she would press administration officials to take a smart, targeted approach to cuts so as to not hinder life-saving, groundbreaking research at high-achieving institutions such as the University of Alabama at Birmingham. In the House, a group of Republicans from farm states and districts introduced legislation this week that aims to salvage a foreign aid program targeted for extinction by Trump as part of his effort to wipe out the U.S. Agency for International Development. That bill would transfer oversight for the Food for Peace program, which purchases crops at market price from American farmers and distributes them to hungry people abroad, from the U.S. aid to the Agriculture Department. The lawmakers argued that their legislation fulfills the spirit of what Trump calls his mandate to slim down the federal bureaucracy and make it more efficient. So they're going to slide it from the U.S. aid over to the Ag Department and problem solved? Are you kidding me? And of course you're going to be impacted by this Republican states. This is what government is, by the people, for the people.
But we voted to own the libs.
If you think it's going to be bad for the University of Madison, it might be bad for the University of Alabama at Birmingham. Just saying. Folks, come back with us. 855-752-4842, 855-75-CIVIC.
Ten.
Anywhere I wanna go, anything that I need to know, any place I need to see is right in front of me. Any sound I wanna hear, I'll take heed and I will lend an ear and play it loud till I'm sore, till I can't take it anymore.
Welcome back to the Dom Salvia Show, 855-752-4842, 855-75-CIVIC. Just PS on the board. Jazz as hell. Matt Rothschild back in the studio. Good to see you, Matt. I want to get to the money in the politics and at least in the Wisconsin Supreme Court race. Maybe we'll bump that to the next segment at the top of the hour. On the national affairs, inflation came out. Read a piece in Newsweek, Matt. According to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, the Consumer Price Index, CPI, increased by 0.5% month over the month in January of 25, up 0.4% in December, and well ahead of consensus forecast of 0.3%. All items indexed edged up 3% for the 12 months ending in January. They pencil in 2.9% in line with December's reading. Now, the more closely monitored core inflation rate, which excludes the impact of volatile prices such as food and energy, also surpassed expectations, quickening to 0.4% in January, up from 0.2% in December, and surpassing forecasts of 0.3%. On an annual basis, core inflation rose 3.3%, up from 3.2% the previous month, and exceeding market expectations of 3.1%. And I saw Trump was just Biden inflation. And I honestly, Matt, I don't necessarily disagree. I mean, Donald Trump has not been president that long. You don't get to, quote unquote, right the ship, even if you're trying like you're trying, Trump. You are still impacted by the legacy administration policies until you can change them. There's a budget. There's, of course, executive orders and court cases that can, impact those things. But I don't take a big problem with putting a lot of this inflation as it stands for the month of January on the previous administration. What do you think, Matt?
Well, I mean, Trump didn't get in until 3 weeks of January were done. So it can't all fall on Trump. I think a better time to evaluate Trump and inflation will be next month. We can at least get a full month of Trump in office, and all his tariff stuff, I got to think is going to cause some inflationary pressures. And also it gives the Fed here a reluctance, and we heard that from the Fed chairman yesterday, a reluctance to cut rates, even though Trump and his Treasury Secretary are demanding it. So it's not good news for Trump. Let's put it that way, even though we can't all be blamed on Trump.
Exactly. And it's not good news for us. I mean, it's better than, higher than that. It's better than 4% or 5% or 6% inflation. As Mark from Sussex points out, he took office on January 20th. Good God. Yeah, Mark from Sussex. I get that. You get that. Matt gets that. We understand that. But what you need to understand is what the man told you. Day one, dude. Day one. And it's past day one.
It is.
It's well past day one.
In fact, we're getting close to day 20.
It seems much longer than that. So while I can totally understand that, yes, it makes sense that this is not entirely the fault of this current administration, this inflation that we're dealing with right now. But I wasn't one that promised that, Matt. You know what I'm saying? That was Trump. And Mark from Sussex, you voted for him based on that, I would assume. Most people did. It was the pocketbooks. It was immigration. It was those kinds of issues that apparently drove people to Donald Trump. Donald Trump told you, Mark from Sussex, day one. That didn't happen. It was never going to happen. I don't give a damn what he did. No president can lower the price of eggs on day one. There's too many variables that go into it. So while I can appreciate the circumstance and understand how the economics work and, again, dealing with the legacy of a previous administration, it was Donald Trump who made that promise. And on day one, just like the war in Ukraine, he broke it because he was unable to do it, as he was never going to be able to do it anyway, Matt.
Yeah, and gas prices up 6.2%. That's big. I mean, he has been talking about, going to the Saudis and talking to that torture crown prince over there. To just flood the market with oil and bring down the price of oil. It hasn't happened yet. Oil prices are up, and egg prices are up, and he seems focused on other things than helping people. When we're going to the grocery store.
And that's some of that that pain we're going to have to deal with, I guess. And the question is, what policies are now being put forth that would impact, the cost of groceries and so forth? Begging MBD in Saudi to put some more oil out there. Well, good luck with that. I mean, if oil isn't, high enough in price, why would they do that? You know what I mean? They got to make the margin. They got to make the money on that. When oil goes up, they'll produce some more oil. And we are in this country right now. Biden's last year was the most oil this country ever produced in the history of this country, Matt.
Yeah, But he doesn't really care. He made all those promises. He's a salesman. He got the sale done, and he doesn't really care, right? I mean, he got what he wanted. He's got all almost more power than anyone ever has had on the face of the earth, thanks to the U.S. Supreme Court. And he doesn't really care if people are going to feel some pain.
Put a guarantee on the box. Quote little Tommy boy there. Put a guarantee on it. And Mark, I get it. You love him. You've loved him the first 3 weeks, and you voted for him. But what did you vote for him for, man? Because Ukraine's still going on. I know there's some negotiations going on right now. Apparently, Trump might meet with Putin while in Saudi Arabia. That could be a thing. That's some of the news out there today. So I guess progress on solving world wars. That's a good thing. But as mentioned, it didn't happen on day one. Instituting tariffs. That's not going to help inflation. He's doing that right away, right? That's something that's going to increase costs, not decrease costs. So, while these folks are still supportive of Donald Trump, he has, and he was never going to, honor those commitments, those day one commitments. It was never going to happen. So the question is to Mark and all the megas out there, is it day 10? Is it day 100? What point of him not fulfilling those campaign promises to you will make you wonder why you voted for the man in the first place and what really needs to be done to impact us and deal with this inflation. Well, one of the things we need to worry about is money in politics. Matt, let's talk about the Wisconsin Supreme Court and the gobs of money and how do we treat the billionaires? Are there good billionaires out there? We'll talk about it. Stick around.
30 seconds, Matt.
Okay.
Done.
Broadcasting across the state of Wisconsin on the Civic Media Radio Network and around the world on the Civic Media app. This is the Dom Salvia Show. And now, here's your host, Dom Salvia.
And welcome to the Dom Salvia Show. Thank you for tuning in. You can be a big part. Hit us up on the lines, talk or text, 855-752-4842. Got Jess P.S. working hard on the board for you today. And jazzed as hell, co-host for the day, Matt Rothschild, our friend in Madison. And we know there's snow out there, folks, so we want you to listen, want you to drive safe, get there in time, don't die on the roads. There's some terrible accidents going on out there, folks. So please, be careful. 855-752-4842. Matt Rothschild, I want to talk a little bit about the money in politics, or at least the money in the Wisconsin Supreme Court race. Your old outfit, the Wisconsin Democracy Campaign, tracking some of the money. I saw some reporting at the Urban Milwaukee. Susan Crawford, the Dane County liberal judge, brought in about $7.7 million since announcing her campaign last year. Schimmel's campaign has reported about $5 million in donations. Roughly 50 days to go to the April 1st election, man. It's right around the corner. And all indications are, according to the Wisconsin Democracy Campaign, that this election is going to cost more. It will surpass the money spent in the Protasiewicz Dan Kelly election not so long ago, a couple of years ago, Matt.
Yeah, in that election, there was $51 million spent in that race, which just shattered the old record. Almost, I think it was roughly twice what the previous record was. And this one, again, may shatter it, even though the numbers aren't close right now. But look, we've got a serious problem about money in politics in our country and in our state. In our country, because of the Citizens United decision in 2010 that said corporations are persons and money is speech, and outside groups can spend unlimited amounts of money so long as they're not coordinating with the candidate technically. And there's some other U.S. Supreme Court decisions prior to that that have been awful and subsequent to that. And then here in Wisconsin, let me just give a quick picture. You know, in 2011, there was a law on the books right before Walker got in 2010, that would give us public financing, that gave us public financing for Supreme Court races here in Wisconsin. One of the first things Walker did was throw that out the window. And then in 2015, Walker totally rewrote, with the Republicans in their gerrymandered majority in the Capitol, rewrote our campaign finance law to give the rich more ability to dominate the system. The limit you could give to a Supreme Court justice used to be $10,000, which I thought was way too high right there. Who's got a spare $10,000? Right. Now it's a spare $20,000. But even worse than that, they tore down the limit about what rich people could give to the political parties and to outside groups. Now there's no limit on that. No limit whatsoever. The sky's the limit. So you could give, Elon Musk is talking about entering this race with his wallet. He could give the Republican Party of Wisconsin $100 million or $200 million, which is couch change to him. And then the Republican Party of Wisconsin could turn around and give that money over to Schimmel, because what the 2015 rewrite also said was that parties and candidate committees can swap their money around in a little shell game. And so really, it's the wild, wild west here in Wisconsin. There is absolutely no limit on what a rich person can give to try to tell us who should actually be our elected officials. And that's ridiculous. There used to be a $10,000 limit on what anyone could give to a political party or to a candidate. And once you'd given the $10,000, you were done. But the U.S. Supreme Court threw that out in another decision, those limits on individual aggregate donations. But there was nothing that said the Republicans and Walker couldn't have imposed a limit on what you could give to a political party. They could have said, well, if you want to double the limit to $20,000, go do that. Nothing more than $20,000 to the Republican Party, and they didn't need to do the shell game where you could just transfer the money from your rich if you're a billionaire like Elon Musk and the limit is $20,000 to Schimmel, yeah, you might give $20,000 to Schimmel, but it's much better to give $20 million to the Republican Party of Wisconsin and then have them give the $20 million over to Schimmel from the Republican Party of Wisconsin. So, I think the Democrats and even Ben Wickler, I know no one wants to unilaterally disarm in an election. You don't want to, be the Boy Scout who's not asking for the big money from the big money folks. But I think it's a losing game for Democrats. There are more wealthy right wingers out there, and Elon Musk just personifies them. And I think even though Protasewicz outraised Dan Kelly last time, and Crawford's a little bit ahead right now, at the end of the day, I think Crawford may get swamped by Musk and Musk's money and some of the other right wing billionaires who may enter.
Folks, you're listening to the Dom Salvia Show. That is Matt Rothschild. He is co-hosting Forte. Just PS is on the board. You can join as well. 855-752-4842. Matt, we talked with Nick Ramos over the Wisconsin Democracy Campaign when they came out with their ethics complaint against Judge Schimmel when he was caught on a recording from last summer, I believe, joking multiple times in multiple recordings about how his knee pads were wearing out. He had to go to Menards to go and buy new knee pads because he was begging so much money. He's begging, he's working, gotta get some money, gotta get the money in. And then he also, edified them, as you just did to our audience, Matt, about how it really works. You can give, $20,000, but if you want to give more, you can give it to the party. And then the party can do what they want with it, but, wink, wink, nod, nod, they'll give it in support of, presumably, in this case, Mr. Brad Schimmel. So, now, do you find validity in the ethics complaint based on the very specific audio recording of the man saying himself he was begging for money?
Yeah, and he was, suggesting coordination too. I mean, you shouldn't be able to coordinate like that. You shouldn't tell your big donor, like Walker did, which got Walker in trouble. You give it to Wisconsin Club for Growth, and I'll have Wisconsin Club for Growth, and give it to the candidate or spend money the way I want them to spend the money. But that's what it's come down to here. It's almost impossible to break the law in Wisconsin because the definition of coordination is just so vague. You can drive a truck through the loopholes there. And so, yeah, I mean, I'm glad that Wisconsin Democracy Campaign and Nick Ramos is doing a terrific job over there, filed that ethics complaint. But I'm not sure it's going to go anywhere. And the larger thing is we need campaign finance reform nationally, and we need it here in Wisconsin. And if the Democrats get control of the Capitol here in Madison next year, and the Democrats still have the governor's chair, I hope they will revisit this campaign finance issue and not content themselves on the fact that, Ben Wickler's a great fundraiser and, think that forever and a day he or whoever's head of the Democratic Party of Wisconsin will be able to outraise the Republicans. That ain't going to happen. And fundamentally, it's just wrong anyway. I mean, we all should have an equal voice in our democracy. We all should have an equal tug on the rope of democracy, and we don't. I mean, everybody knows who's listening right now that the super rich have much more of a say over who gets elected and what laws are passed and what policies are pursued than you and I do.
Sure, Matt. And I want to get to what does campaign finance reform look like. But the rich still get one vote. Elon Musk gets one vote, right? Diane Hendricks gets one vote. The Ulions get 2 votes. So isn't that, I mean, I'm speaking, as a devil's advocate here, isn't that the speech you're talking about? Isn't that the one input? That's the big equalizer is our vote.
It is, and it's the one day we have the same amount of power as the Elons and Diane Hendricks and Elon Musk and George Soros for those right wingers who are out there, or Pritzker for that matter.
Right.
I know there's big money on both sides, and I think big money in politics is evil no matter what side it comes from. But yes, the way to counteract big money is to get people power at the voting booth and in the streets, and we need to do more of that here. Over these next several months for this Wisconsin Supreme Court race, and also just to defy the runaway authoritarianism that we're facing from Trump.
The many over the money. Matt, but obviously, even if you accept the premise that we are currently operating under that, money is free speech and corporations are people, What do they say? I'll believe a corporation is a person when Texas executes one. You know what I mean? But speech, if money is speech can be regulated. You can't yell fire in a crowded theater, right? People can be regulated. They can't commit murder. No, I'm not saying that corporations are people, but even if you accept the premise, isn't there still an ability, a way to regulate that?
Well, there should be, and I think a decent U.S. Supreme Court down the road, and I hope we get one sometime, will look at the Citizens United decision, this dissent by Justice John Paul Stevens in that case, who talked about the fact that, yes, we can limit speech in some ways. And yes, other people's rights to freedom of speech are being drowned out by the big money. So there are competing claims on the First Amendment issue. Mm-hmm. So, there are ways to get around this if people would look at that dissent, as I'm sure some future justices will. But in the meantime, we're stuck here in Wisconsin with this terrible. They even took away the preamble that said disclosure is great for the people and excess money is bad for our system. They took all that lofty rhetoric out of the law too. They just didn't want to have any. Robin Voss didn't believe a word of that.
But and people should be concerned about that because obviously, I can't go to pocket and put out millions of dollars worth of ads, ripping or promoting a particular candidate. I don't have the resources to do that. But if a bunch of individuals, pool their sources, they could do that, can't they?
Well, we're not going to be able to compete with the big money. What we need to do is talk to our friends, not to raise money from our friends, but get our friends out to vote. Get their kids in the basement out to vote. Get your grandparents out to vote. We all need to, make sure that we can do whatever we can to stop this problem of autocracy, plutocracy, authoritarianism, fascism. Call it what you want. The way we do that is make sure we get out to vote. And our first chance to register our disgust at Trump and this right-wing downhill slide we're rapidly descending on is to go out and vote in this Wisconsin Supreme Court race this April and vote for Susan Crawford and just make a stand right now saying we've had enough.
We've had enough. We played a little Senator Sanders yesterday. Love me some Bernie.
Me too.
Going after the oligarchy, man. And I think you're right. And while we certainly would, love the money being spent on the causes and things and candidates that we care about, it doesn't make it any more right than when the conservatives or the megas do it. So, I wonder how we frame that. How do we convince people that this is a big problem? I think it is. You think it is, Jess. I think you think money in politics. We talk about it. We hear about it all the time. Everyone, lots of folks. I don't really want anybody that says, yes, we want more money in politics, other than the oligarchs and perhaps a very few that they are in bed with. Most people, in my understanding, think this is something that should be rectified. But who is speaking for the Democratic Party right now? We got a new DNC chair. Is that the person, or is it a political leader? Come back with us. Your calls are next. 855-752-4842.
Not to put too fine a point on it. Say I'm the only bee in your bonnet. Make a little birdhouse in your soul.
5:30. Done.
Welcome back to the Dom Salvia Show, 855-752-4842, 855-75 Civic. You can be a part. Just be us on the board. Matt Rothschild joining me today as well. A couple of topics, I guess, here as we continue on this conversation about the money in the Wisconsin Supreme Court race. And well, that brings us to, of course, the billionaire class, the oligarchs, as Bernie Sanders, the senator from Vermont, has talked about quite often. And then who's speaking for the Democrats right now? When we just, Ben Wickler did not win, unfortunately, for the DNC, but pretty good for Wisconsin. We like ourselves some Ben Wickler. But the cat from Minnesota, he won. And my question is he the what? Is he the voice now, Matt? I mean, who? If you're looking for, I don't know, motivation, someone to look up to, someone to guide us through the wilderness here. Who is it on the Dem side right now, in your mind, Matt?
Well, that's the question. I mean, what's the message and who's the messenger? I mean, the message has got to be, we got a government, by the billionaires, of the billionaires, for the billionaires. That should be the message. And the Democratic Party is for the people, not for the billionaires. And yet we have the Democratic Party establishment still, sucking up to the billionaires. You mentioned the new DNC head, Ken Martin. He was quoted in The Nation as saying, there are a lot of good billionaires out there that have been with the Democrats who share our values and will take their money, but we're not taking money from those bad billionaires. Well, that's not really a winning message. And think back to the DNC convention. Bernie gave a great speech, and who came up next? Pritzker. And Pritzker said, I'm a real billionaire, compared to Trump, claiming that Trump wasn't an actual billionaire. That's not the argument I want to have. That's not the Democratic Party I want to have. That's not the representative of the Democratic Party I want to have. So in answer to your question, Bernie Sanders, he's not even a Democrat. He's been the one who's been most outspoken. AOC is the second person. I guess she's the only real Democrat with the clearest message here. But what I want to know is, where's Kamala Harris? Where's Pete Buttigieg? Where's Governor Whitmer? Where's Governor Newsom? I haven't heard peep from those people about this takeover of our government. I haven't seen a leadership from them at this really crucial crisis moment of our democracy. And why not? Where are you?
That's a great point. No, certainly Newsom with the fires, he was out in front on that and taking some bullets from this administration in that regard. But yeah, where's Big Gretch been? Where's Pete? Mayor Pete? Is he running for office now? And maybe they're out there but it's not boiling to the top because there's too much noise. And maybe that's one of the other problems that we have with the way that this current administration is fire hosing all this information and all these actions, is that, those folks that are articulating, that do have something to say, it's not getting out there. It's not getting through the noise.
No, I mean, where is the opposition party? I mean, Robert Reich is great. Heather Cox Richardson is great. Rachel Maddow's great. But, of the elected officials, the people who want to lead the Democratic Party, and I think especially Kamala Harris, who I have a lot of respect for. I think she worked her tail off. She did great in the debate, and she deserved to win. But I want her to speak, even if she's not going to run for president next time, even if she's not going to run for governor of California, even if she wants to retire. She was the standard bearer for the Democrats. I want to hear her, almost every day denouncing these moves by Donald Trump. Where's Barack Obama, for God's sakes?
Yeah, right. I mean, good point. Again, not a politician, but still a leader. He was out there during the election. That was and Michelle as well. But it seems it seems lacking. It seems like there's a gap there somewhere in the leadership, and hopefully someone will rise to the top. I think Hakeem Jeffries, and I think the messaging, the point of it all too, is not just anti-billionaire. It's like, what are the billionaires doing that's going to affect you personally? These actions that they are taking. If you're going to cut, Medicare and Medicaid, if these are on the chopping block, and I just saw a Newsweek piece today. The Republicans are going to ask for what, like a $4 trillion debt ceiling hike, so they can afford their tax cuts. It's going to cost like $4.5 trillion. Oh,
and
yeah.
Those tax cuts are going mostly to the rich.
Mostly to the rich.
And this is the same party that said we're looking to cut $3 trillion from spending.
Yeah, they got to do that so they can give their buddies $4 trillion back.
That's right. Newsweek reporting from earlier today. Republicans reveal Trump tax cut plan will cost $4.5 trillion. $4.5 trillion. Doge is all worried about the expense side. Man, they should focus on the revenue side. But that would require them to look in the mirror. Mr. Elon Musk, who has no problem taking that government money when it goes to his projects. That's fine. That's the good, efficient spending, apparently. Although I did see a headline that those cyber trucks are more dangerous than Ford Pintos. I haven't dug into it, so I don't know statistics on it, but damn.
He doesn't want regulation on those cars. That's why.
No, that's like the whole point, man. As consumers, we want that, man. I want us as we the people, as our government, to ensure that the products that we buy and the business that we engage in is that there's going to be guardrails to protect us from fraudsters and protect our environment, protect the workers. That is the point for the general welfare and promotion of the people. We the people, Matt. That is the point. Are there, in your mind, is there such a thing as a good billionaire?
Well, I don't think there should be billionaires, which is to say, I think they should be taxed when they get to $999,999. They got plenty of money at that point. They're not going to suffer. Their kids aren't going to suffer. Their grandkids aren't going to suffer. We need to fund our government, and let's tax the hell out of them once they get to that point. That's what Bernie was proposing when he was talking about we don't want any billionaires. Or, take the senator from Massachusetts who proposed a wealth tax. Let's have a wealth tax. But you're not going to get at that out of Musk and Trump. Man, they want to get rid of the estate tax totally so these super rich people can give absolutely every drop of their wealth to their kids who haven't worked a day in their lives.
Folks, you're listening to the Dom Salvia Show. That is Matt Rothschild. We got Jess P.S. on the board. We got you folks on the lines. We'll get to you next as well. 855-752-4842, 855-75-CIVIC. Good billionaires, bad billionaires. Is there such a thing? I mean, aren't they just hoarders at the end of the day? If they didn't have the money, there'd be newspapers. You'd have to stack floor to ceiling. You'd have a path to get through the living room in their apartment. It's just hoarding, man. And you can't just take it all and give it all away for a little bit more. Come back with us. We'll take your calls, 855-75-CIVIC. Also, don't forget the end of the show, our last segment, tell us something good. We want to hear something good, put a smile on our face at the end of the day. Drive safe out there, folks. Join us, 855-75-CIVIC.
10.
Somebody get me through this nightmare. I can't control myself. So what if you can see the darkest side of me? No one will ever change the set of who I have become. Help me believe it's not the
Welcome back to the Dom Salvia Show, 855-752-4842, 855-75 Civic. Got Matt Rothschild today. Just PS working the board, and you folks on the lines. Neil from Glendale pipes up. Alvin Lee, 10 years after at Woodstock. I'd love to save the world, tax the rich, feed the poor until there are no rich no more. I love that song. I think we get that one maybe for tomorrow. Thanks, Neil. Appreciate it. What else we got? Pete Buttigieg may very soon be announcing his candidacy for U.S. Senator from Michigan. That is my understanding. Thank you for reinforcing that as well. 855-757. Let's get a couple of callers in. Mike from Racine, you are up. Happy days, Mike. Welcome. What do you got for us?
I was just wondering when Schimmel, he was on the radio station the other day for the Republican side, and he said it was okay that they pardoned some guys that sprayed the cops with bear spray.
Oh, yeah.
Would it be okay if I went up and started talking to him and sprayed it? They couldn't arrest me, could they?
I know, Mike. It's terrible. Number one, no, that would not be okay. We do not encourage that. I remember someone poured a beer over Speaker Voss's head one time, and while that's kind of funny, let's not do that stuff, man. There's a reason why that is assault, even though the pie in the face sometimes seems appropriate. We've seen the cartoons. But for a sitting judge here in the state of Wisconsin, Matt Rothschild, who wants to be on the Wisconsin Supreme Court, to endorse the full pardoning of folks that bear sprayed, tear gas, beat, clawed officers that were just doing their jobs trying to protect Republicans and Democrats in the Capitol, I think it's one of the reasons that the Marquette University Law School polling, that was one of the big negatives in that poll from this administration.
Totally disqualifying for Schimmel. He doesn't deserve to sit on the Wisconsin Supreme Court when he said that those folks, those criminals, those terrorists who beat up the cops on January 6th, that it was okay for Trump to pardon them. And what I want to know is, where's the Milwaukee Police Association on this? Did they think that was a good thing for Trump? They endorsed Trump. Are they going to endorse Schimmel now, even though Schimmel says that's a good thing too?
Yeah, that's a fabulous point there, Matt. And we've seen some of the commercials that the Schimmel campaign has put out there where he's all slow gangster walking with the sheriffs. And to Mike's point, hey, you walk up to any of those sheriffs and put some bear spray on them, you're going to get arrested. And you should get arrested for assault. You absolutely should.
At minimum, you're going to get arrested.
Right. You're like, you don't get shot. But and that's ultimately the point. You have these police organizations that are all about the law and order, but then the law and order party is now the party of assault and battery
and corruption.
The ABCs of the GOP. That's how they do it. It is. I think it is disqualifying, Matt. And I don't know how. I don't. Where's the disconnect, Matt? To me, that it is absolutely not. No way. How can police officers and these police unions and those that would support the law and order types go and say, yeah, that Brett Schimmel, he's got a good beat on this. Those folks who beat the hell out of those cops, and we've seen the videos. It's not like, this was the most publicized coup in American in world history, man. Everyone they were like recording themselves. Hey, look at us. We just beat the hell out of the cops. Yeah, man. And some of those videos were used in court against them for the assault that they obviously did.
And for a judge and a former state attorney general to say that, that's okay, a former DA to say that's okay, it's just outrageous. And I saw that the national group, the Fraternal Order of Police, issued a press release, half condemning Donald Trump for pardoning the January 6th criminals. But, they endorsed Trump, too.
Right. They endorsed him anyway, and presumably still support him. I mean, that at what point, if it's you getting attacked by the megas, then do you change your mind? Because you're probably those folks are megas themselves.
And it's not like it was a surprise. Trump campaigned calling these people, political prisoners and said he was going to pardon them. So who was surprised? But, why did the, Milwaukee Police Association, why did the Fraternal Order of Police endorse this guy? They're endorsing lawlessness against police officers. That's the irony and the paradox of the whole thing.
Mike, do not be like Mega, man. Don't. I would highly suggest you not doing that. Do not charge them out. Do not attack the police officers. Don't believe shysters and carnival barkers and reality TV show people either. That would also be just a little tip for the kids out there. 855-752-4842. Cam, you're from Appleton. Miles Stomping Grounds. Welcome.
One of them.
What do you got for us?
I hear those sounds in the middle of the night and realize I'm having a nightmare. Al Zadai, I am probably butchering the name, but he's the gentleman that threw the shoe at George Bush in 07.
Mm-hmm.
And supposedly, I mean, his wiki entry, this is just on topic with dumping the beer on Voss.
Mm-hmm.
His wiki entry mentions how it's him doing that sparked very similar incidents of political protest around the world.
Yeah.
So just throwing that out there. The other thing, the main reason I called in originally was that I have my own Groundhog Day for knowing if the Republicans or Trump are having a bad time. And it is like a test. I play StarCraft from 1998 still to this day. And all people need to know is just it's a game. And it has a chat in it. And usually when they're having a bad time, I see the normal people I normally see, but then I also see a lot of bots on there talking about how great Trump is on a game. I don't know why, but that's usually how it is. Nowadays, all I see is the guy that for the last year, every day he's typed into the chat how he wants to F someone's mother. That's all I see anymore. So their bots are done. I don't know where they are.
It is a weird world, Cam, and I guess when you can just make bots and have them show up on everything, online video gaming included, we're just bombarded nonstop with this trash, unfortunately. But it's good to know that at least sometimes they're having a bad day, and I guess that's when release the bots, release the Kraken, release the hounds. 855-752-4842. You got anything on that, Matt?
Well, I just think, the Trump people that I know are still crowing. They still think he's doing a great job. They love the first 3 weeks. And, I think it's going to take a lot of those folks a while to get over this. I see we've got some texters who want to defend Democratic billionaires like Pritzker and Mark Cuban. But, what I'm wondering, or I just did a little Google search, Kamala Harris was out there campaigning with Mark Cuban several times, and I'm sure she was out there with Pritzker too. How many times was she out there with Bernie? 0. And that sent a message, a confusing message, I think, to working folks who like Bernie. There was a lot of overlap over the last couple of presidential campaigns when Bernie was in there between Bernie supporters and Trump supporters, because they both of the candidates were saying things that rang true. The system's rigged. Both Bernie and Trump said that, and they had different remedies for that. But pal around with the billionaires, I don't think people who are having a hard time making rent and paying their car insurance, really love the, palling around with Mark Cuban. And so I think the Democrats have got to come to the realization that this billionaire, solicitation has got to end. That's not the way to go. There's a different way to go, and they need to articulate the message better of the billionaires, by the billionaires, for the billionaires, and not for you. And they need to have national figures. Bernie and AOC are doing it, but no one else seems to be doing it. Mm-hmm. National figures, rise to the top and start yelling.
855-752-4842. Matt, I referred to that as the Bring Your Billionaire to Work Day. Because Trump was palling around with Musk, I think, and I think you're right. Harris was with one of those other billionaires. It was your Bring Your Billionaire to Work Day. Yeah. And I would, and I don't know how you do this, because if you're a billionaire, you're a hoarder, and you probably got some some narcissistic tendencies, but whatever. Maybe take a back seat. You know what I mean? Maybe let some other folks, some younger folks, some folks that are talking about, the issues that matter on issues that if you're a billionaire, you don't quite understand anymore. Now, maybe at one time, if you weren't always rich, if you were like literally, from the street to the billionaire, and I don't know how many stories like that are actually true, maybe you have something to offer. But if whatever you did to get you that far, why you still have billions of dollars, man? You know what I mean? What are you doing with that other than making more money on the billions of dollars that you already have? Now, I'm not saying that I want a government to go and tell me how to spend my money, but we, the people, can certainly, through our Congress, set tax code. You know what I mean? And we need to recognize and reclaim that power. And no, it's not bad. And there's lots of things you can do. You can put out a tax rate and you allow for certain loopholes, right? I mean, even the tax rates that we had back in the day, we're talking about 70, 80%. There are lots of loopholes that people get around those kinds of things. We can, as a people, and we should address that through our tax code, through our Congress, through the power to tax and the power to spend. That's the point. We, the people. And when people don't engage and they don't have a leadership and they're kind of wandering in the wilderness and everyone's got to bring a billionaire to work, buddy. Well, that kind of lose that messaging, Matt. I mean,
Dwight D. Eisenhower, not exactly a socialist. He had a top marginal tax rate at 91%. 91% if you got to those, $100 million folks.
Yeah.
And actually didn't seem to hurt the economy. The economy was chugging along quite well in the 50s. That's why Elizabeth Warren's, wealth tax, that's why it's a popular idea. It's got like 60% approval.
Keep going. I mean, and these things don't happen overnight, certainly, but to continue to talk about them and look, these things were historical and things have changed. Reagan came in and drowned the government. And, you get the government that you deserve, maybe, because if you don't believe in it, you don't participate in it. And I was guilty, man. I vote a hell of a lot more now than I used to. But in my mind, it wasn't anything I could control. But we can control it, especially if we're all on the same page and working together to influence it. That's the point. That is the point. 855-752-4842. Joe from Madison, you are next. Welcome, Joe. What do you got for us?
Well, I just wanted to comment briefly on what you were speaking of, and then go to my little point here, and that is I can't believe I'm in this situation, but here I am, which is that there are some millionaires and billionaires who are trying to do a good job. Maggie has a piece that she runs regularly where she brings a Millionaires for Tax Justice or Fair America or something like that to come in and talk about that. I mean, Warren Buffett has said, the tax system is insane. If my secretary is paying on a per capita basis more in taxes than I am, and has said that. Mark Cuban, I'm not well versed in this guy, but I know that he has put forth some sort of pharmaceutical deal where you can it's a nonprofit that allows you to purchase pharmaceuticals at a much lower rate than you might buy it at market rate. So, I mean, yes, they've got a lot of money, but they're not all knobheads, I guess is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Whereas there is a knobhead who was in the White House and who is setting up to leave us by the side of the road. I mean, he had said, he had a posting, and this is the one that really, really bothers me. He said, and this is a quote from one of his texts that he just put out. He said, "At this point, I'm 100% certain that the magnitude of fraud in federal entitlements, Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, disability, exceed the combined sum of every private scam you've ever heard of by far. It's not even close." So he says that at the top of it, his text, and then he says later on, if accurate, this is extremely suspicious. Okay? So this is the knob that we have dancing around Trump, with his little MAGA hat on. His kid has his finger up his nose. It's just, the look of it is just god-awful. This guy is a liar. He's nuts, and he's snorting around in people's Social Security, disability. I mean, we can't have this. What is he doing there? Yeah. We don't have any idea. We still don't have any idea. So I would say that there's levels of jerky billionaires, and he's way to the top, and I think that what's going on has to do with Starlink. I think he's really got some fraud there that was going to be tackled by one of those inspector generals.
Yeah, and they all got waxed. Hey, Joe, we're coming up on Against the Hard Break. Thank you for your contribution. And I get it. They're not all made the same. But when all those billionaires get behind Bernie Sanders with their money, with an effort to get money out of politics and to tax the billionaires themselves and spend their own money on that, then I'll believe it. Come back with us. Tell us something good. 855-75-CIVIC.
$30.
Welcome back to the Dom Salvia Show. Last segment of the day. If you got something to say, hit us up right now. 855-752-4842. You know how we do it at the end of the show. Tell us something good. End the day on a positive, happy note. And we got Matt Rothschild here. We got Jess PS on the board. And you folks are on the line as well. We want to hear something good. 855-75-CIVIC. We got an early innovator, Bill from Green Bay. He's got something good. All right, Bill, share it with us. What do you got for us?
Well, we've been bombarded with so much great news lately. It's been almost too much to take. There's so much greatness.
Yeah.
But anyway, I was reading on the internet because I have school loans that I've had, and they said that I should go on to the website and print off my payment history just so I have it, so I have a record of it, because you know how some of these websites are just happen to be disappearing these
All
days.
right.
So I thought I better get in there, make some copies. So I went through there, and all of a sudden I see that they all have a zero balance. So after 21 years of paying on this, and in the very beginning, my payments were $500 a month, 11% interest, and they would call me 5 to 6 times a day. And now I don't have it. I'm practically breathless that I can't believe this. I'm so grateful.
That is fantastic news, Bill. Let me ask you, because obviously some folks get a little chippy about all these breaks for those people that took the loans and paid out debt. But there's value to that, man. I mean, now if you're saving yourself $500 a month in loan payments, what do you do with that money now, man? How does that get spent?
Well, right. Well, I'll obviously spend it in the economy, small businesses, wherever. And it's like. And also, Dom, it's not like I haven't paid this thing 2 times over.
Right.
I really have. The interest rates are so high. And if it was your traditional loan that you would get like 25 years ago, yeah, you pay that back. And absolutely, I have every intention of paying this back when I took it out. However, with the predatory lenders that happened to get a hold of me, the first loans were fine. Then they gave out the second set of loans, said, hey, sign this.
Mm-hmm.
And I just went ahead and signed it because I thought it'd be just like the other loans. No.
Yeah.
I should have read the fine print because they really got me.
Yeah, Bill, lesson learned for sure. Well, congratulations, man. I assuming that had something to do with the last administration. I don't think that there's going to be any student loan relief from the current administration.
Well, if he gets rid of the Department of Education, then
okay, we never know. We'll see.
never know.
We'll see. Something good, Bill. We appreciate that, man. Rock on. Go have a good time and spend that money locally. Support local businesses. All right, Matt, you are the guest of honor today. We appreciate you hanging out with us, man. You got something good for us, my man?
Yeah, I wanted to, I like ending with poetry. So there's this tremendous poem called Let America Be America Again by Langston Hughes, who's often been called the Bard of Harlem. And I found a recital of the poem, and it's a long poem. We're just taking a bit of it, I think. Reading this poem is Minneapolis poet Dana Smith, who got his BA right here at the University of Wisconsin-Madison.
Oh, nice.
Let America be the dream the dreamers dreamed. Let it be that great, strong land of love where never kings connive nor tyrants scheme, that any man be crushed by one above. It was never America to me. Oh, let my land be a land where liberty is crowned with no false patriotic wreath, but opportunity is real and life is free, equality in the air we breathe. There's never been equality for me, nor freedom in this homeland of the free. Say, who are you that mumbles in the dark? And who are you that draws your veil across the stars? I am the poor, white, fooled and pushed apart. I am the Negro bearing slavery scars. I am the red man driven from the land. I am the immigrant clutching the hope I seek and finding only the same old stupid plan of dog eat dog, of mighty crush the weak. From those who live like leeches on people's lives.
Yeah, that's a great poem. That's Langston Hughes' poem, Let America Be America Again, read by Danez Smith. Happy Black History Month, everyone.
Yeah,
but that
man, that's
a
for
poem
real.
that's been, it was up on my wall at both the Progressive and at the Wisconsin Democracy Campaign for many, many years.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing, Matt. How about you, Jess?
Something good? Well, I got to ride into work today. That was something great. Thank
You're
you very
welcome.
much. And as much as, it sucks to drive in the snow, it's so beautiful.
It is. It is. If you don't have to drive, you can just view the snow, look at the snow. It's wintertime in Wisconsin. It's nice to see some white on the ground.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well,
You got something good?
I do. I had the opportunity last night, privilege to go out and have a drinks with a friend of mine, and I've seen this, known this cat for a long time, and it kind of dawned on me how many relationships and friendships I've built up over the years doing the show.
Yeah.
Jess, here recently, and Matt known you a long time, and I think about and go through all the folks and people that I've met. It's just been an absolute privilege. And it's so fun. And it's one of the things I love most about doing the show is meeting the folks, and certainly the audience, you members, you know as well. We go out and we have drinks together. We talk about it. It is really a community, and I'm just honored to be a part of it. It's been a lot of fun. So we're going to continue to do that. I'm going to meet my buddy up again next week. So, folks, thank you so much for joining us. Matt Rothschild, thank you, sir. Hopefully we'll talk again real soon. Just PS on the board. Let's get wrapped up and hit the road again. Go back home. You folks, be safe out there. Drive safe. Be patient. And stick around. Pete Schwaba with Nightlights coming up next. Have a great night. We'll see you tomorrow.